Have you ever been told the water lapping at your dock isn't really yours? What if the self-appointed queen of the neighborhood claimed she owned every fish swimming past your property line? And what happens when the quiet newcomer they've been bullying finally decides to play by the real rules? And wins? I had just traded the soul-crushing grind of corporate America for the whisper of pine trees and the gentle slap of water against my new lakeside cabin in suburban Oregon. The place was a slice of heaven tucked between tall evergreens and a winding dirt road, far from the city noise I'd left behind. The lake stretched out behind my property, its surface like glass in the morning light, inviting me to cast a line and forget the world. No crowds, no tolls, just me, my rod, and the promise of peace. But as I quickly learned, in HOA land, peace is a dirty word, and some folks can't stand seeing you enjoy it without their permission. It was a perfect Monday morning when I first met her. Mist hung low over the water, the air crisp and clean. I set up my folding chair at the end of my dock, coffee steaming in one hand, rod in the other. The line hit the water with a satisfying plop. That's when the voice cut through the calm like a chainsaw. "Excuse me. You can't do that here." I turned slowly, other side of the low fence separating our properties, hands planted on her hips, a shiny HOA president badge pinned to her pastel blouse like some kind of suburban sheriff. Her face was pinched, lips pursed as if she'd tasted something sour. Karen, as I'd later learn her name, looked like she'd stepped out of a catalog for concerned citizens who know better. "This is private," she continued, her voice dripping with fake sweetness that didn't fool anyone. "Fishing is only for approved community members. You need to pack up and respect the covenant, dear. It's for the harmony of the whole neighborhood." I almost laughed out loud, treating my dock like a crime scene. "This is my property," I said calmly, reeling in my line just to show I wasn't in a rush. "The lake touches my land, otherwise." She blinked hard, clearly not used to pushback. Her cheeks flushed that special shade of entitled pink. "The lake is a shared community resource under our bylaws. Unauthorized use disrupts the ecological balance we've worked so hard to maintain. I'll have to note this." She spun on her heel and marched off, muttering about people who don't belong here loud enough for the birds to scatter. I thought that was the end of it. And leave, though. She was the type to complain, double down, and turn it into her personal crusade. Every single morning for the next week, like clockwork, she appeared at the fence line. Sometimes she yelled about visual pollution from your rod. Sometimes she asked in that syrupy tone, "Do you even have a fishing license, or are you just freeloading off the rest of us?" Other times she just glared, arms crossed, like I'd personally insulted her perfect lawn and her perfect life. One particularly sunny morning she brought backup, another board member, a mousy woman named Linda who nodded along like a bobblehead. They stood there watching me cast like I was robbing a bank. I waved cheerfully. They didn't wave back. The way they clutched their clipboards like holy tablets. Almost. Then the envelope showed up, taped to my cabin door in big red letters. "Violation notice." I opened it and burst out laughing right there on the porch. $500 for unauthorized use of community water resources. The letter looked like it had been printed on Karen's home printer, complete with a wobbly signature from Karen Thompson, HOA president. No county seal, no real authority, just her ego and ink. The next day the whole board showed up on my dock like they were SWAT responding to a hostage situation. I was mid-cast when they stopped behind me, shoes clicking on the wood. "You need to pay that fine immediately," one of them said, voice thick with borrowed authority. "And stop this fishing nonsense permanently. It's against the spirit of the community." I reeled in slowly, took a sip of coffee and smiled. "This is my land, over the water touching my property." Karen stepped forward, arms crossed so tight her knuckles went white. "Oh, we can make things very difficult for you, young man. You have 24 hours to comply, or things will get serious. We protect our values here." Her voice echoed across the lake, sending ducks flapping away in panic. Birds scattered. But instead of snapping back, I simply nodded. Understood. And I smiled wider. Not because I agreed with her little power trip, but because I knew something she didn't. That lake wasn't governed by the HOA, it wasn't public. It was legally classified as abandoned water rights, messy little detail most people never bother checking. But I had. Before moving in, I'd been quietly working the legal angles, filing paperwork, digging through county records while Karen was busy policing flower beds and mailbox colors. She thought she was running a kingdom. I was about to redraw the map. That night, as the sun dipped behind the trees and darkness swallowed the shoreline, I pulled out my folder of documents, property lines, water rights transfers, county approvals, and laid them out under the lamp. Every violation she'd thrown at me, every glare, every fake fine was about to boomerang right back. The timing couldn't have been sweeter. The next morning, before Karen could storm over with her final warning, I drove straight to the county records office. The clerk recognized me from my previous visits. "Here to finalize the transfer?" she asked with a knowing grin. "Yes, ma'am," I replied. Just like that, I legally owned the entire lake. Every drop, every inch of shoreline that wasn't someone else's private dock. Every right Karen thought she controlled through her little rulebook. When I pulled back into my driveway, Karen and 2 board members were already waiting on my dock like a firing squad. She started in before I even got out of the car. "You're in violation again." And this time, I walked right past her silent, carrying the metal sign I'd picked up the night before and an electric drill. I placed the sign against the dock post. Karen followed, sputtering. "You can't just..." The drill whirred to life, drowning her out beautifully. Screws bit into wood. Eyes widened like she'd seen a ghost. "Private property. Residents not welcome." Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. Absolutely nothing. My folder, and held it up like the grand finale of a magic trick. "I own the lake now," I said softly. The wind carried my words across the water. Her jaw dropped, in disbelief. And for the first time since I'd moved in, Karen was completely silent. Peace had returned to my dock, but the storm was just starting for Karen. She turned the color of a boiled lobster, her perfectly coiffed hair frizzing in the breeze like her brain was short-circuiting. "You, that," she finally shrieked, voice cracking. "We own this lake. It's in the covenants. It's for the collective enjoyment of the community." I pointed across the shoreline where workers I'd hired overnight were already installing fencing along the perimeter. "No," I said, still smiling that calm smile she'd never been able to crack. "I own this lake." She couldn't stop us from swimming? Could, and I did. Boating? Already stopped. Did. The HOA was officially shut out. The meltdown that followed was legendary, the kind of black comedy you couldn't script. Karen called an emergency board meeting that same afternoon, then the county clerk, then the sheriff's department, then the environmental agency. She even tried the governor's office, really? Everyone told her the same thing. He legally owns the lake. Her face on those calls must have been priceless, that mix of rage and terror as her little empire crumbled. For the next 2 weeks, the whole neighborhood lined up at the new fence like kids staring at a toy store window they'd been banned from. Their kayaks gathered dust on porches. Fishing poles leaned forgotten against garage walls like abandoned toys. Paddleboards sat unused, symbols of the shared harmony Karen had preached while trying to find me for existing. And Karen? She marched up and down the shoreline every single day screaming, "This is illegal. Tyranny. You're destroying the community spirit." But it wasn't illegal. It was satisfying. And it was 100% legal. The dark humor hit peak when she organized a protest at the fence line, signs reading "Return our lake," and "Freedom to swim," and "No more tyranny." It was so over the top the local news showed up. The reporter shoved a mic in my face. "Sir, why are you restricting access to what the residents see as their lake?" I looked straight into the camera, calm as ever. "Because the HOA tried to fine me $500 for fishing on a lake they didn't own. Now I do." The clip went viral overnight. Karen became a meme. Lake Karen, guardian of imaginary rules, the woman who turned a fishing rod into a full-blown suburban scandal. Then the real satisfaction kicked in. The HOA residents started turning on her. They realized every restriction, every fence post, every no-access sign was because of her power trip. Whispers spread faster than her violation notices ever had. She caused this. Her ego cost us the lake. The next board vote was brutal. An overwhelming majority. Karen was removed as president, stripped of her badge, forced to hand it over in front of everyone like a disgraced CEO. Their next move was almost pathetic. A delegation showed up at my gate, hats in hands. "Sir," the new president stammered, "can we negotiate lake access back? For the community." I thought about all the yelling, all the threats, all the fake fines she'd slapped on me while preaching harmony. I thought about how she tried to bully the quiet guy who just wanted to fish in peace. And I said 3 beautiful words. Annual fee only. Now the entire HOA pays me every year for access to my lake. They get limited hours, strict rules, and a reminder every time they step on the dock who really calls the shots. And whenever I feel like it, I cast my line from my own dock, sipping coffee while Karen walks past on her way to wherever ex-presidents go. She forces a polite nod these days. Nothing sweeter than justice served with a fishing rod and a side of ironclad paperwork. Look, the lesson here isn't to buy every lake you see, though damn if it isn't tempting. It's that bullies and badges thrive on your silence. Next time a Karen comes knocking with her rulebook, smile, nod, and quietly check the deed. Justice tastes sweeter than any fish you catch. Stay patient. For than it looks.